What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the opening drive, aka episode 40. It's Hop, it's the Hop Along Cast, the
Yeah, it's
episode.
gotta be.
There's no discussion there. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate, and we are here brought to you in part by The Barn, Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling. What's good? It was weird with no game again.
Yeah, it was really weird. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever, Not
You
much,
had the
man.
stalker.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one of the things I was gonna bring up. So so Saturday, my wife and I thought our daughters played at 9 and 10 a.m. in Mount Vernon, Ohio. And why is that important? Because we had to be back in Marion at 11 for MJ, our middle child. She had dance pictures, so we had to get back for that. Well, when we get there, both girls are playing at 9 o'clock, and we didn't know that. So they're playing at the same time. And one of the 5-year-old coaches was going to be gone. And so guess who asked their dad to step in and help out?
Oh, snap.
My daughter. And so I got to spend Saturday morning coaching some 5-year-olds in soccer, and that was a very humbling experience. God love him. God love him. Jake Moore's nephew's out there doing, the worm and stuff in the middle of the game and dancing. And my daughter only wants to hold my hand throughout the game. And I'm like, okay, I got to regroup. I gotta see where I can get better for next week. And, I gotta bring the juice. And so, but it was fun, man. It was a good time. And, got a big win Friday against Dublin Jerome. So happy about that. Playing for a conference championship this week. And so that's going to be big. It's all you ever want. Week 10, be playing for something. And so if we can win a conference championship and then have a nice playoff seating, it'll be all good news over here, man. How was your week?
It was interesting. Got to see the boy for a couple of days at the start of the week, so that was awesome. And got to see the niece and nephew yesterday. Had a 6-year-old's birthday party at a super cool place that I was intrigued by. It was called Main Street Mini in Monroeville. It was actually cool. Basically, it was uncontrolled chaos for 2 hours of watching these kids just wreak havoc. There's no other way to put it, but it has like all these little different buildings, like inside, it's just a little mini like post office and a grocery store. And so my nephew is 2, and he comes out pushing the little buggy, and he had taken everything, and I literally mean everything, out of the little grocery store room. Pushing it out, which part of your responsibilities are you have to clean it up before you leave.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be gone in 15 minutes after your party's over. So it looked like supermarket sweep in reverse of us trying to put everything back.
What a throwback, man. What a great show that was.
Yeah. I would probably be not good at that anymore, but Sabrina, on the other hand, would kill it.
Yeah.
So yeah, didn't get to watch a lot of games yesterday, but it was cool to do the family thing.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that number 1 fell. The team up north fell. I didn't see the Miami-Louisville game. I saw a couple Facebook posts about another questionable call going in the favor of the Canes. A fumble, incomplete pass situation. But, that's cool. Like, keep winning, Miami. We'll see you. The Guardians decided to let the guys that you can't let beat you.
Yeah.
So that was kind of heartbreaking. So, yeah, I mean, we've got no more bye weeks, though. Six straight weeks of routine for us. The Buckeyes play at noon on Saturday against Dylan Raiola and company. So obviously we'll dive into that later in the week for you guys. After Nebraska took an absolute licking yesterday.
Yeah, I was really shocked by that, man. I know Indiana is good, but I really had thought Nebraska had taken a step forward this
Yeah.
year so far. Right. Raiola has been okay for a freshman. I mean, he's not set the world on fire, but he's taken his lumps, but he's got all the talent in the world. He's going to be good.
Yeah.
They got good skill guys. They got a good run game. And so I really thought it was going to be a game, but man, Indiana, they put it on them. And we said it a few weeks ago, man, Kurt Signetti, wherever he is at, they win. I mean, they win. He is a winner. And so, I'm not as surprised with their record, but yeah, I thought Nebraska would definitely play better.
Yeah, and that dude's going to be linked to every job out there.
Every job.
If you see Penn State falter down the stretch, and James Franklin, but I don't know that they would still pull the trigger. But Florida State, obviously Florida State's number one target is going to be Dion. I mean, there's no way it's not.
Especially if the Buffs get bowl eligible.
Yeah, which is very, very realistic the way they're playing right now.
You see one more.
USC, who knows what happens there. Oklahoma. I mean, there's going to be some big jobs that I don't think anybody thought were going to come open.
Yeah.
And the dude skating through all this is Billy Napier because he is somehow holding the Wolves off. But obviously, in Buckeye land, there are a lot of people who want a change. And that's kind of what we wanted to dive into today with no game to recap is, just kind of talking about Ryan Day and, where we're at. Record of 61-9. Is that what we came up with?
Yeah, 61-9 if you include the first three games of 2018 when I believe Urban was suspended or was out for whatever reason, and Ryan Day took charge. And so 61-9 if you include those three games.
Yeah, so, I mean, the thing that jumps out to me is, yes, 9 losses, not ideal. But when you look, 3 of those are to the team up north. You've got an Alabama loss in the Natty, and a game that I don't know that healthy Ohio State wins, but we were just overmatched. It didn't matter who played Alabama that year. We weren't winning.
Yeah.
We weren't winning. Clemson wasn't winning. I always rehash it. We had Tough Borland guarding Devontae Smith.
Yeah, we put Tough in a bind right there, man, with that coverage we were playing. That was
we put Tough in a tough spot.
Yeah, that's not what you wanted.
No. There were a lot of people that hated on Sean Wade that year. Justin played good. But Trey Sermon got hurt, no Tommy Togiai. A lot of variables in that game, but I still don't think we win. Obviously the Oregon game, we've beat that horse until it's turned into glue. And then my thing with Ryan Day, and then I'll let you kind of dive into some of your thoughts. He doesn't lose games that he shouldn't, though.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with that. I think, we're at that stage now with Ryan Day where he's been here. How many seasons now? 7? Is this year 7 for him? Wow, that's crazy. So we've been with him for 6 or 7 years now. We have an
6.5.
6.5. Okay. So we have an 87% win percentage right now. All right. I want that to settle in. Okay. 87% of the games that he has coached, he has won. Right. So in 70 tries, he's only lost 9. And why is that important to me? Because if you take a look at some of the big programs, that pride themselves on being the top programs in the country, some of them we just mentioned, the USCs, the Oklahomas, even the team up north now this year, you see what a bad season can look like for them. Alabama right now with 2 losses already, you see what a tough season could look like for them right now. And so we have not seen that type of regression in our program. And that is a big deal to me. When we think about how lucky we are and how great it is to be an Ohio State Buckeye fan, because we know pretty much we're going to have double-digit wins and have a chance to win a Big Ten championship and make it to the playoffs every single year. And that is like the minimum that we expect, right? Big Ten championship, make it to the playoffs, and then obviously natty. So a lot of Buckeye fans are natty or bust. Now, where does Ryan Day need to get better? He's got to be able to win the big games. And I've not seen a guy, have the worst luck in some of these games either.
Yes.
Right. The last game with Oregon, which we'll dive into a little bit more, if Will Howard slides 2 seconds earlier, right, they have an opportunity to kick a field goal. Right. A couple years ago with Georgia, Marv gets hurt, changes the outcome of the game. And then we have an opportunity to kick it. And a trustworthy kicker that we've been able to depend on all year long, he misses it. Right. To me, is that on Ryan Day? Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people will say, and I know that I'm like this too as a coach, and when I was a head coach, everything's on you. You take the blame. It's everything that you could have done better. But at the same time, the guy's only lost 9 times. All right. He's only lost 9 times to teams that are within the top 10 consistently every single year. And so I just don't want Buckeye fans to lose sight of that. Are there some things that I think that we need to improve? Absolutely. I said it the other week. We've got to be able to run the freaking ball in big games. That is always and has been the difference for Buckeyes in these since Urban Meyer, since Jim Tressel. In our big games, we've been able to out-physical the other team. Yep. Right? You go back to the national championship year when we played Alabama, we out-physical them up front, and that was the difference. Yeah, Cardell played great, but I believe we had 3 turnovers that game too. We out-physical them, and we won the line of scrimmage, and we were able to go win the game. That is where I think the biggest improvement needs to happen under Ryan Day. I think that is the biggest difference in these, his record against the top 5, being 1-9 now or whatever it is, 1-7. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he needs to be able to run the football at will. Not at will, but he needs to feel confident that he can overpower some of these teams. In my opinion, the Oregon game was a perfect opportunity for that. We were in the first half had an opportunity. It looked like we were going to have the opportunity to rush for 200 plus easy. Okay. We had, obviously we had the big play from Trey, but we were consistently getting 3, 4, 5 yards a carry. We had 120 plus rushing yards. Go out in the second half and establish the run on top of Will Howard playing like he did, right? What does that do? That helps our defense out, which we're struggling, which we'll get into later. And so I think that is just what it comes down to. It comes down to the trenches on both sides of the ball being the difference in these games. Yes, Ryan Day is in charge of the people that are coaching those positions. Yes, this is Ryan Day's program, but I am not on that hill where he needs to be gone, because we could be in a very similar situation to a Michigan, to a Florida State, to an Oklahoma, to a USC, where you say, well, okay, we've got to move on from this person because they're not winning these big games. And then the person you bring in next may not be the right fit. And now you're talking at 8, 9 win seasons and people not wanting to come be Buckeyes. Now you're talking about Brian Hartline and Tim Walton and a couple of those guys maybe go exploring now because their guy's not the head coach anymore. Like, you have to weigh the ramifications of making that decision. And it sucks and it's tough. We need to win these big games, which I think we will over these next 2 weeks, obviously against Nebraska. And then we'll have another top 5 matchup against Penn State. Hopefully that will be a big win if we can go out there and take care of business. And so I just want Buckeye fans to really pump the brakes on that. Be frustrated. Absolutely. I get it. Be as frustrated as you want to be. I'm frustrated too, but to call for Coach Day to be fired is just mind-blowing to me when you've coached 70 games and you've won 61 of them. Like, I'm not getting rid of a coach who is almost at a 90% win percentage. I'm not doing that. So let's pump the brakes on that. Let's finish the year with this great roster. Let's go do our thing, and, we'll reevaluate at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that stands out to me is, I know Urban Meyer will be, in Ohio State lore. But you never knew what game it was going to happen in. but you almost always knew there was going to be a game that Ohio State was either going to come down to the wire, i.e. Maryland being a 2-point conversion away from beating the Buckeyes, which I think that might have actually been a day game. But, Iowa.
No, that
Purdue.
that was an urban game. Wasn't it when he like collapsed on the sideline? Like
Yeah, it was.
That was it. Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at all those things, and I agree with you. And obviously the other piece to that discussion is, where do you go if you fire Ryan Day? Because you have to get it right. I don't know. I obviously the easy answer is a lot of people will say you need an Ohio guy. Excuse me, which I got asked that Thursday night in the live, and I said I'm sad that Coach Slate's not here, because at least if you say an Ohio guy, he's going to say Matt Campbell.
Absolutely, all day long.
But again, is that the answer? I don't know. I don't think Mike Vrabel's the answer. Hartline's not ready, by any stretch of the imagination. I don't feel like, you've got, Eddie is doing some head coaching, but again, to come from Tennessee State to Ohio State, it's not, it's not the move. I mean, there was talk about.
And that is one thing too. I didn't mean to cut you off. You just got amped up really quick. I'm sorry.
I love it.
I've been on some websites and seen some names be thrown around, and Eddie George is one of them. It's not a knock on Eddie. He's the GOAT. He's one of the greatest to ever put on a Buckeye uniform. Like, we'll never talk trash about Eddie. We'll never talk trash about any former Buckeye who gave so much to that program. We'll never do it. One thing we have to consider is, when we hire a coach, they have to be a proven winner. They cannot come from, a program where they're only winning 4, 5, 6, 7 games a season. I get it. I understand why you would want them there, because they're a true Buckeye, born and bred, that they bleed scarlet and gray, but you got to go get winners. I remember when Jim Tressel got hired, people were like, what the heck are we doing? Right. There were a lot of people. Mason. Yeah, there were a lot of people that were kind of skeptical about that because of where he was at. Well, the one thing that stood out about Jim Tressel was that he dominated at Youngstown State. He won national championships at Youngstown State. And so winning, right, translates across each level, in my opinion. Division III, Division II, Division I. If you can win at those levels, you can win at the next level, right? Because you're going to have more resources. Curt Cignetti at Indiana is a perfect example of that. Everywhere he's gone, he's won. Kyle DeBoer is a perfect example of that. He is a Division II coach. Everywhere he's gone, he's won. Okay, and he's going to continue to win at Alabama. They've had a tough schedule, but he's going to keep winning. And so you've got to go hire a winner, right? And a winner that's going to be able to do it in this day and age, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago, in this current state of college football. Are they going to be able to do it in this state of college football? And there's just so much to go into that. And you're taking a huge risk on who that next person is. Are you going to be able to go get Dan Lanning from Oregon? I doubt it. As long as Phil Knight's alive, he'll pay Danny Lanning whatever he needs to stay there. Okay, so if you can't get him, then who are you going to go after? You're going to go after Curt Cignetti? Okay, that's cool. He's 63 years old. All right, so how long is he going to be around? So where are you going to go? You're going to have to look at a Matt Campbell. You're going to have to look at guys who have built programs up from literally nothing to being respectable. And now you look at Iowa State, they're undefeated right now. And so those are the guys you're going to look at. And if we go hire a Matt Campbell, half of Buckeye Nation is going to be like, well, what the heck is this? Why are we hiring this guy? Right? He was 7-5 at Iowa State last year, whatever his record was. And so Buckeye fans we're just true diehard fanatics. And I think sometimes we just go off the handle and we don't think clearly, and we say things without like actually putting thought to it. So, be careful what you wish for when it comes to hiring the right guy. You got to hire a winner. You have to.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And normally I always am the type of person, I always have something in my head. If this happens, you get like I always said that when Jim Tressel was done, it would be Urban Meyer. Just my gut feeling. Um, I can't tell you right now who I would even want or where you go because it is such a crucial hire.
Yeah.
What do I think Ryan Day needs to do better? A lot of things. I mean, he's shown he's willing to make changes on the staff,
Yep.
as necessary. Justin Fry living under a microscope, and his unit has looked really good all year. Now, obviously, these next 6 weeks and after are going to be a test, given that you just lost a guy that was going to be an All-American. And now we'll see what you've done. What can you do for us, Justin Fry? I think the big elephant in the room, though, is Ryan Day needs to figure out whatever this beef and disconnect is between Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson. It's still there. Something is not right. We saw it. 0 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Larry loves the Rushman package, but I don't think you get what you need out of it. These guys are not the Bosas.
No, no, they're not. And, on College Game Day or something on ESPN, Nick Saban said that,
yes,
the Ohio State defense is antiquated and like predictable pretty much. And I don't disagree with that. I think the defense is still really good. I don't want to underestimate how good they are at all. I think there is a philosophy disconnect between some of the people on the defensive staff, right? And one thing that stands out to me, and I really want people to really remember this and think about this, when Jim Knowles got hired originally, I remember going down to spring practice. I remember watching the spring game. We were running his version of this defense, what he wanted to run, right? And one of the things that Ryan Day told him that he did not want was any more big plays. We cannot give up the big play. So if I'm the defensive coordinator and the head coach who just spent $2 million or whatever they're paying him to come be the defensive coordinator says, you can't give up big plays at a place like Ohio State, this is a dream job for most coordinators. I'm going to do what the head coach says. And so what did that result in? That resulted in us being a bend but don't break defense and really making teams work to drive down the field. Our defense was really good last year. It was really good. Even in the Michigan game, there were some things that we didn't do, well, and Michigan made some really good plays, but we had guys in spots and we didn't just give up shots over the top consistently, right? And so what do you now see this year? You see Jim Knowles trying to do more of the things that he wants to do, but stay within the framework of this 4-man front and the personnel that certain members of the staff likely want. And so when you try to mesh those two, sometimes it doesn't work out. Okay. I'm just going to be honest. When there's a conflict going on, whether it's, philosophies or butting heads, you just don't always have the cleanest games. Okay. I think that is what we saw against Oregon. I think you saw a philosophy finally come to a head when they're butting with each other, right? You've got this Rushman package and you're trying to mesh it with what Jim Knowles can do with cover one and quarters coverage and some of the different things. And because of our lack of pressure, we got exposed on some of the things in the deep passing game. Now, some of that, I'm not going to lie, was just on Denzel Burke biting on things that he shouldn't have been on. All right. But pressure, getting people to move in the pocket is something that Jim Knowles was known for doing. And since he's been here, that's not been the case. And so why is that? Why is that? Why are we not seeing personnel packages where we are getting our athletes on the field to go create pressure? Why are we not seeing Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks line up on the edge and say, I'm going to go get the quarterback? Why are we not seeing that on a consistent basis? I love Jalen. I love Jack, and I think they should be on the field all the time. But you can take out one of the D tackles. You could take out Ty Hamilton and bring one of those guys in as the fourth rusher, right? Or you could put Jack and JT down on the inside, and then you could bring in both of those guys out on the edge. And now you're talking about being relentless with these two freak athletes, but still being able to put a cap on the defense. And so somewhere there is a disconnect, and it's extremely, extremely frustrating because I think it's going to cost Jim Knowles his job. If we don't go out and win it all and dominate Michigan, if he has another performance like this, everybody's going to question everything that he's done. And there's got to be some give and take. And that's something that Ryan Day's got to figure out. He's got to be able to work through that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the, you know, both of the, you know, of the presumed parties that are having the disconnect are both really good at their jobs. You know, that's what makes it tough. You know, it just, you put Knowles in a bad spot because in a way it's like a subordinate who is not, you know, Jim Knowles is a subordinate to Ryan Day and he's not doing what Ryan Day wants, but Larry Johnson is a subordinate to Knowles and he's not doing what Knowles wants. Like, it just, where does it get fixed? You know, that's ultimately what it boils down to. Excuse me. And I don't know. I like you said, it may end up with Knowles not having a job. Because I will say, you know, recruiting wise, which is the lifeblood of your defense, Larry Johnson is more valuable to your program than Jim Knowles.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what it boils down to.
Yep.
So we'll see how Day addresses it if the wheels fall off. You know, everything is still there. We've said it. You know, I think for the back half of this season, I do want to see if things change, you know, which Ryan Day has shown no fear in making a lot of changes. You know, do you see Jermaine Matthews getting more playing time? If Zen struggles right off the rip, you know, do you see a Saraveld move? Do you see Donovan Jackson move out? You know, there's obviously a lot of things moving there. You know, I don't see an issue. I know DBs are a totally different animal than D linemen, but keep those guys fresh. You know, bring in Jermaine Matthews. You've shown trust in Aaron Scott already. You know, Lorenzo Styles Jr. is getting a lot of playing time. Mm-hmm. You know, just don't. I understand keeping Caleb and Lathan in every down, you know, for the most part. You know, those guys are the quarterbacks of your defense.
Yeah.
But something has to be figured out. And what Ryan Day does with it's going to be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And now that he's not calling the offense, so this is another side of things that is completely different for Coach Day. So now he's the CEO. So now when the defensive meetings are happening and they're talking about personnel, guess who's going to go walk in that meeting now and be like, okay, what are we doing to get this guy on the field? Why are we not correcting this? Why is this person not seeing the field when he's had great weeks of practice? You know what I mean? He's going to be able to step in those meetings and have those conversations. And so I remember being a young defensive coordinator and we gave up some points that we shouldn't have given up. And I vividly remember one play when I was at Pleasant when we were playing triad, and I put our defense in such a bind because I thought they were going to run something else and they came out in something different. And I was playing a coverage that I didn't want to play, and it turned into a big play and then resulted on a touchdown on the next play. And I remember that next day when we were meeting as a staff, the pressure that was put on me from the head coach, right? Obviously, no coach calls a perfect game. That's one thing that sticks out to me. And I remember the pressure being put on me to come back out and make sure that we dominate the next week, the things that we need to do. Why are we running this coverage during that against that formation when we know the type of route combinations we were going to get, right? I put the kids in a bad spot, and that's on me. How am I going to correct that? Ryan Day has a perfect opportunity to put a lot of pressure on the defensive staff and say, hey, we win this game if you guys get one more stop. And when I say one more stop, you don't give up a field goal. You get one more stop, right? We win this game and we're not in this position, right? We win this game, and if we don't give up 3 vertical shots, we only give up 1. We win the game if we do that. And so it's really going to put that defensive staff on high alert, because now they know, oh God, Ryan Day can come over here now. And as a coach, you kind of want that pressure. You kind of want that pressure because now your guys, the kids that you've built such good relationships, they don't want to let you down. And they know that that coach is breathing down your neck and wants to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to put those kids in the right spots. They're going to go out and play even harder for you now, right? Because they know, like, all right, hey, Coach Walt, OG Walt's been, having my back from day one, and now he's catching some bullets because of my play.
Yep.
So now I need to go out there and show OG Walt that I love the crap out of him. And I'm going to go out there and do whatever I can to make plays so that Coach Day can kind of get off of his back. And so there's so much good that can come from this, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And, it will be interesting to see the personnel changes, like you said. It will be interesting to see if we do some, personnel like tweaks or packages or, different coverages or different fronts or different movements, different stunts. There's just so many different things that we could do. And so it'll be interesting to see if we actually change things or if we just go back to what we did last year and say, hey, we're going to put a cap on the defense and we may not get any sacks, but you're not going to get any big plays. So,
yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, points win games. So
yep.
I don't care what the stats are if you're giving up 10 points a game. I mean, so yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see, and that's one of the things that Oregon exposed were tendencies. They exposed our tendencies. They broke their tendencies. And I think that's partially why Denzel had a bad game. Oregon had not ran deep stuff hardly all year.
Yeah.
And, it's easy to bite on a double move when you think the guy's going to go under and then he just blows by you. So,
yeah.
I'm real interested to see how Denzel rebounds and what Coach Day does to help that. But, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, moral of the story is we could have it a whole lot worse.
Yep. Yeah, we could definitely have it a lot worse. We could win a national championship and already have 3 losses this year. And I'm not saying that to slight anybody, but that is one thing that Ohio State, I believe, will not happen at Ohio State because of the culture, because of what's been built. 11-2 has been a bad year for us. Okay. Yep. Being not in the playoff was a bad year for us last year. Not being in the playoff when CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba had that crazy day, against Utah, not being in the playoff that year was a bad year for us. And so, playing in what the old school BCS games is a bad year for us. And so I just am grateful that that's where we are, because there's a very real possibility that the team up north goes 8-4, 7-5, 6-6, and they just won a natty last year. And so that's a huge drop off. And luckily at Ohio State, knock on wood, that we don't experience that, but we are very fortunate as Buckeye fans. And, I really hope that we're not going to actually have a rational mind when it comes to that. Who am I kidding?
Exactly.
Who am I kidding? We're going to be nuts about it. So,
yeah, I mean, but that is what it is. And that kind of, it gives us kind of what we're looking ahead to. One of the things we wanted to do, using this last bye week before, obviously games pick up, every game becomes more important. We're going to see some, 26 recruiting will probably pick up, so the quote unquote important stuff is about to get, popping. We wanted to kind of go over some moments, for the year. Coach Slate, has got some video ready. You know, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that when I thought about this, it's more guys, the guys that stand out to me more so than the moments.
Yeah.
Obviously Jeremiah Smith is the easy answer.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's been Will Howard. I guess that would be, before we dive into the clips you've got, for me, what Will Howard has came in to do after so much scrutiny all offseason is kind of my favorite thing of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Will Howard has been, and this is, please don't take this as a slight to Kyle McCord. Everybody knows, if you know me, you know how I feel about Kyle McCord. I was ride or die for Kyle McCord last year. But this is not a slight to him, but it's been almost like a breath of fresh air to see the Will Howard is the leader of that offense. It's unquestioned. He is the leader of that offense. And I have full confidence, even after that slide, I'm not upset with him about that. He played out of his mind that game and gave us the best chance to win. Do I wish he would have slid earlier? Yes. But I also wish that after we got down in that position that we just handed the ball off to Trey and got 4 or 5, 6 yards more and then used our timeout and kicked the field goal. But that's just me. And so Will Howard has definitely been, one of the big surprises for me. After the spring game, I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. And the other part that's been a huge surprise to me is the offensive line. And it shouldn't have been, because all the pressure that's been put on them, another year of development with Justin Fry. You bring in Chip Kelly, who is really good at offensive line development, and you bring in more support staff to really help, Coach Fry push that group forward even more. And I think they've played really well. I think they've played well together. It will be interesting to see how they handle Jimmy Simmons being out now.
Yes.
That's going to be – there's so many different directions they could go. I thought I thought he played respectably. I didn't think he did anything to kill us. I didn't think he did anything that was like a wow play, like, oh, my God, he's fine. But I thought he was okay. And maybe that's just what we're going to have at left tackle, just okay. Maybe you move Donovan Jackson out. Maybe you move Austin Seierveld or Cyberveld, however you say his last name, move him out. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. And so I'm excited to see when we get the depth chart and the 2 deep for the week, I'm excited to see what that looks like. And so, like you said, with the moments, there are so many good things that this Buckeye team has done. Lathan Ransom being healthy, flying around, making plays. Emeka Egbuka being healthy and just being an absolute true definition of a Buckeye and a leader. Cody Simon getting the block go and just playing relentlessly. Just got to be able to tackle better, Cody. Caleb, we still have Caleb Downs on this team. It's all those things are mind blowing to me. But for the moments, my moments are all in that Oregon game, man. I cannot take my mind off of 3 plays defensively that just really changed that game in such a way. I don't care how else the defense played other than that. If we only give up one of these 3 big plays, we're fine. And so to me, those are the moments that really stick to me because they were gut punches, and I just hope we learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. It just you hate to get beat by the big play. That's one of the things I was thinking about as we talked about the Ryan Day losses. Knowles gets criticized for the Georgia game. Lathan Ransom literally fell down. Yeah. It wasn't a blown coverage. The guy fell. It happens. If they don't score there, who's to say what happens? I mean, so I get it, and I see why those stick with you. So I'm excited to hear your breakdown of them.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to only show 3 clips because I want to keep my sanity. I still have football. I still have football meetings tonight. So I want to make sure that I'm not frustrated going into the meeting. So I'm going to present my screen. All right.
Yeah, and it's a big week for you, so we can't have you losing focus.
Yeah, we got to stay locked in. All right. You got me? Says we're streaming. All right. So this is the first big play. Okay. You notice, Kenyatta Jackson's in, which I like, the rotation that we've been having. I think Kenyatta's earned the right to be on the field. But you'll see one thing that stands out. All right. So they motion. One of the things that we were trying to do in this game was to make sure Jordan Hancock, obviously he's the nickel safety or nickel corner. So we're trying to make sure that he was to the two split receiver side. So anytime there was two receivers, you're typically going to see him to that side. So one of the things that stands out to me immediately, Dylan Gabriel's got a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got a lot of time. There's nobody winning their one-on-one. Okay. Now, this is still pretty quick. He doesn't hold on to the ball forever. Okay. But there was only one thing that he was doing, and he was going deep on this play. All right. So looking at this coverage, this is some sort of mixed coverage. All right. It looks like we're playing man down here. We're going to get Caleb Downs sitting down in the hole. We're going to get Latham Ransom working back to the middle of the field. And you can tell by his alignment right here that he is playing a version of cover 3, where he's really supposed to just be getting depth. Okay. Now, this is a simple thing. If I'm supposed to be getting depth, that means that I'm okay with giving up the hitch. Okay. I'm okay with giving up the hitch. Now, why is that okay? To talk about giving up the hitch? Well, it's 2nd and 12. All right. I wanted to go back and show this. It's 2nd and 12 right now. So am I okay with giving up a 5-yard hitch? Yes, I am, because I'll rally to it and I'll make the tackle, and it'll be 3rd and 7. It'll still be a 3rd and long situation, advantage defense. Okay. And so you expect a veteran guy like Denzel Burke not to really bite on a hitch and go. Okay. What does Denzel Burke do? Bites on the hitch and go, completely underestimated the speed of Evan Stewart. All right. If he was playing this true zone third that I think he's supposed to be playing, I don't know. I'm not in the quarterback rooms or in the defensive coordinator's room or the coach's office when they're putting this coverage together. But I believe that he's supposed to be playing a deep third or a quarter of the field. So he needs to be opening up and staying on top of this, being willing to give up this underneath route. It's okay. It's okay if you give that up. You live to play another down. But instead, right, we bite on the hitch. We bite on the hitch, which wasn't the greatest hitch. It was a stutter and go. Wasn't the greatest thing. I'm sure he's seen better in practice. And it turns into a huge play, right? And then you give him 26 extra yards of field because you don't tackle him to the ground. You're going for the ball. All right. So that is the first thing that frustrates me because this is such a veteran guy. The one thing I love about this, my guy down here, IGB, is a dog. Like, he is just a dog. Look, he just drives him completely out of bounds. Like, he is a foxhole guy. I will always root for this dude. I hope the Browns draft him one day.
I don't know if I'd wish that up on him.
But this right here just frustrates me because I know Denzel Burke is one of the best corners in the country. And you bit on a stutter and go, which happens. It does happen to DBs all the time. It happened to me in college. It happens. But I just believe he's supposed to be playing that third or that quarter of the field. Just stay on top. It's okay if you give up something underneath. You rally to it. You make the tackle. Right? Gosh, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah, that's brutal.
No pass rush, right? We lose our leverage on the outside. Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. Evan Stewart's a really good receiver. They take advantage of it. It's a huge play. All right, let's go to clip 54. Okay, 1st and 10 here. Let's see what stands out on this clip right here. Again, okay. Now, why am I showing this clip? Number one, I wanted to highlight the pass rush. A half a second too late. All right. One of the things that defensive linemen are taught, and I don't know if this is what Larry teaches, once you get to this quarterback depth, you really need to start bending this back and fighting pressure with pressure, and you can't get pushed upfield. You see Jack get pushed upfield a little bit. You see Jalen fighting like heck, to get back over top, and he almost gets there. All right, but the one thing that bothers me here is, Tyleek, you're our guy. You got a one-on-one, man. I'll take you against any guard in the country. I will take you against any guard in the country, Big Ty, right? A couple years ago, you were talking about free leak or whatever it was. Like, this is your opportunity to be free, man. You got a one-on-one. You got a one-on-one. You got to go win that one-on-one matchup. You're not going to get those often, man. You got to win it. Jack, you got a one-on-one on top. You got to win it. You're one of the best defensive ends in the country. Go win. The other reason I wanted to highlight this, they literally send an extra guy to help block Jalen. And he still almost gets there. He's a half a step too late. But Jack, Tyleek, you got to win that one-on-one, man, because I have the utmost faith in you. Now, the other reason I wanted to highlight this is something that our linebackers have to improve, our underneath coverage. You have to understand when you're playing zone coverage where your help is. All right. This looks like we're playing some version of cover 3. Okay. All right. Some of us call this cover 6, where you're like playing cover 2 to this side and quarters to the backside, or cover 5, cover 2 to this side and cover 3 to the backside. But nonetheless, you got 3 guys deep. Okay. The underneath coverage has to know where the help is. I know that Jordan Hancock is going to be playing this underneath part of the field. I know that Sonny Styles is going to be playing this underneath part of the field. Cody Simon has to play the hole, right? The hole is right here in the middle of the field. But if you notice, Cody starts running this way towards him when Sonny is already in a position to be underneath that. And when Cody does that, what comes open behind us? The dig. Okay, this backside dig now becomes open. If Cody's sitting right here underneath that, Dylan probably has to tuck that and run, or Jalen gets there for the tackle or the sack, It's a big moment in the game. You got to make sure you're doing your job and not anybody else's. All right, we'll watch the defensive line from this angle. Tyleek, you got to win that, dog. You got to win that one-on-one, man. You got to win it. That's frustrating. All right, I got one more clip, then I'll stop because
Jack kind of got assaulted on that play, but
yeah, a little bit,
but nothing. Gary yeah.
3rd and 9, got to get off the field. 3rd and 9, you got to get off the field. Now, again, to me, this is just a lack of technique. This is a lack of focus here. I know they're playing some sort of man coverage, all right, because they're trying to get pressure and trying to bring the house. Well, not bring the house, but they're trying to run some sort of simulated pressure so we can bring 2 linebackers and we're going to drop these guys in coverage, all right? So they end up bringing 3. Now, it's the different 3 that's lined up on the defensive line. So who do they bring? They bring Sonny, they bring Lathan Ransom, and then they bring Cody Simon, and then Lathan Ransom drops off late. So you're hoping one of these guys can get through. You can see Sonny almost gets through, but you're trying to flood the underneath zones. Okay, you're trying to flood these underneath zones. If you could beat us over top, beat us over top. Well, I don't know if this would have been what I was going to go with in this situation because they had already beaten us over top. So it's 3rd and 9. I just got to put ourselves in a position to get off the field. Now, Evan Stewart, I believe this is Evan Stewart again, or it could be Tez Johnson. I'm not 100% sure. Runs a pretty good route. But I've watched Denzel Burke guard JJ in practice doing the same type of stuff, and he's been able to stay on top. But he doesn't here. Steps over his feet. He's trying to hustle back. Again, beat over top. Oregon saw that Ohio State had not been challenged down the field, and this is what they had tried to do to us. Okay, so is that a schematic thing? It could be. Is that a culture thing? I don't think so. I don't think it's a culture thing. I think it's things that are correctable, and that our guys, our dudes, need to be able to win those one-on-ones. That's what makes you a dude. I had full confidence in Chase Young when he played here. He's going to go make a play every time. I have full confidence in the Boses, right? That they're going to go make a play when we need them to make a play. We need our dudes to step up and do that on a consistent basis. And, I think hopefully we'll see that moving forward. But those are the three moments for me that have changed the landscape of how we view our defense. Those three big plays. Okay, really two big plays, and then one, just our underneath coverage needs to be better, and our pass rush needs to be better. So if we can get those things corrected, I think we'll be fine. So it'll be interesting to see what we get this week, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be a week where they come out and try to win 63-0, or it could be a week where they come out and win by a point.
Yep.
I'm excited to see because, I do want to see how they react to some adversity.
Yep.
That's all you can ever ask for. Obviously, we'll dive deeper into, what we expect to see later this week. But yeah, I mean, first half of the year is done, and that's what's crazy. It's for being the best time of the year. It goes so fast.
Yeah.
Now obviously, as Browns fans, it can't get over soon enough on that side of life. But the Buckeyes, I wish they played 52 weeks a year.
Me too.
But, it's also wild, just like we talk about Denzel Burke having a bad day. Patrick Mahomes has thrown through 2 picks today.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. It's just the way it goes.
If you're a cornerback, you're going to get beat.
Yep.
Deion Sanders got beat. Right there, every cornerback ever has gotten beat over the top or had a bad game where the receiver just had their number, or you just played great coverage and they just made a play. Right, that's why they're called 50-50 balls. Okay, yep. So like those things happen. Like how you respond to those things tells me about who you are as a player. So I'm excited for Denzel, man. I think he's going to bounce back. But Jermaine, stay ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we're excited to start talking about the back half of the year a little more in depthly, with before the battle this week. I think that's all I've got. As always, thank you guys for the support. We love the feedback, we love the interactions. Don't be afraid to shoot us some questions anytime. As always, shout out to the Barn and Cornerstone. Those guys are awesome. I'm going to have to text Jake and ask him about his nephew, if he got his dance skills from him or not.
Oh, man, it was great.
I love it. That's what it's about, though. If you have kids, obviously you understand. If you don't have kids yet, you'll see what we're talking about. I'm looking at you, Corey Rice.
My guy, Corey. Love that dude.
Yeah. Sounds like, I don't know obviously the due date, but I did see the nursery's done. So shout out Corey, loyal listener.
Yeah. Thank you for your service, my guy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize that. I don't know Corey personally, but I've gotten to talk to Corey a lot, since we started this thing. And great dude. I really enjoy talking with him. So that's the other cool thing, like I said, shoot us messages. We enjoy talking to you guys. And kind of picking your brains. That's why we do it. It gives us an outlet, obviously, especially on weeks like the Oregon week. And gives us a place to take shots at Miami. And, I got to throw this out here real quick because I really hope that, you guys back me up on this. Our in-house Miami fan, again, Brandon is an amazing dude, great guy, loyal listener.
And my cousin. He is my family.
And massive Browns fan.
Yes.
Like huge Browns fan, huge Cleveland sports fan. I tweeted today when Deshaun got hurt that Quinn Ewers, you are a Cleveland Brown. Brandon's response is Cam Ward, you are a Cleveland Brown. I go, Brandon, we've already tried that. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, Johnny Manziel. And he goes, how dare you compare the two? I go, it's not far off, though, in college. Big arms, they freelance a lot, and they're very charismatic.
Yep.
I mean, we all know how Johnny worked out.
Yeah.
I would take Shedeur Sanders before I would take Cam Ward. I'm not going to lie.
I think so too. I think I would take Shedeur. I think, in complete transparency, I think Shedeur is the best quarterback in the country. I think he's got all the tools. He's got the smarts. He's got the pocket presence. He's got the toughness. He's got the swagger. Like, there's so many things. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure if the Browns drafted him, they might pull an Eli Manning, and Coach Prime would be like, nah, my kid ain't going to Cleveland, So I could
he'd just say fire Stefanski and hire me.
Oh man, I could see that happening. So, but I think Shedeur is the guy. It'll be interesting, man. I'll let the rest of the season play out. Hopefully Jameis Winston, goes out and balls out
some
for us.
Today.
He did. So we'll see.
But yeah, well, cool deal. I want to give a shout out this week. I got two real quick ones before I let you make your piece for the end of the day. I want to shout out my 6-year-old niece, Ren. She turned 6 this week. She'll never hear this, and that's okay. And then I also want to shout out Emma Yoder in the Jacksonville State Gamecock Women's Bowling team for winning the Destination Orlando tournament today in their first tournament of the year.
There we go. Awesome, man. That's awesome. I got to invite one of the kids that I've gotten really close with. I'm good friends with his dad, and I got to invite him down to our game on Friday. Josh Cooper and his son Rafe. I got to invite them down, and Rafe was on the sideline with me the whole game, and following me up and down the sideline. And he got to see some of our guys, man, and he was so excited. He one of our players who's got a bunch of Division I offers gave him a towel. And so I went to watch Rafe on Saturday, and Rafe had the towel on, and
That's awesome.
It was like those are the moments, man, of coaching that are the best moments in my opinion. Winning's cool, but to see a kid that you kind of mentor or look at as like a little brother, meet people that he wants to be like that's so cool. And then to have kids that you coach that are so mature and just great ambassadors for the program and leaders. And so, shout out to those guys, man. That was it was a pretty cool full circle moment for me this week. So it's one of the best parts of coaching for sure.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that, we will see you guys later this week for a before the battle husking edition instead of duck hunting, because that didn't work out well. So
didn't work.
we will see you guys then.